Howdy, folks. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn. And today, for you folks, I have a brand new TTRPG video, and we're going to be entering the Wayback Machine and become cocaine cowboys, folks, because today I'm going to do a review of Miami 86. Now, just as a bit of a disclaimer, as before I get into my review of Miami 86, which is a brand new TTRPG, this was part of Game Found, which was is like kind of a Kickstarter type thing for tabletop role playing games, board games, etc. The thing I want to disclaim here is the fact, yes, I was a backer. I backed up until basically the printed copy, which I think is like $20 from Game Found, is pretty much what I backed, or maybe it was 25. I think it was $25. So I am a backer. But that being said, I'm doing this review because I want to. I wasn't asked to do a review. This review is going to be my own personal opinion, pretty much like it is for any TTRPG review around here. But I just want to disclaim that for brevity's sake, I guess. But let's get into what Miami 86 is. And essentially, in general terms, you're playing as the part of Scarface. You know, you're basically you're coming up through the chain and you're becoming the head honcho of a criminal cocaine empire, if you will. Or on the flip side, you can actually take the part and play as Miami Vice. Now, with that being said, even if you play as Miami Vice, you could still be a dirty cop. Which actually, this part of the role playing book was actually influenced by some of the members of the Miami 86 Discord. A lot of people were requesting the ability to be able to play as Miami Vice as a part of Miami 86. And I was actually one of them, to be honest, because I feel that the people I game with would be more interested in kind of doing a buddy cop, Miami Vice thing over being, the cocaine barons of Miami. Now let's go over a bit of the character creation, and the character creation's kind of complex, but it's pretty quick. It starts off with character background, and essentially you pick what your character's background is. It could be, well, Miami Vice is one of the backgrounds, ex-cop, ex-military. There's mechanic in there. There's also taxi driver in there, and essentially it judges what your starting equipment is and kind of gives your character a bit of a backstory. There's a lot of other factors that goes into it as well. I don't want to dive too much into it, but the character creation is really simple, and essentially it's a lot of picking and choosing, or you can randomly roll things. Now, when it comes to your attributes, you have strength, agility, and willpower. And your attributes is, well, it's essentially your skill levels and how you dodge attacks, it's your saving throws, things of that nature. There's really not a lot when it comes to this, but basically those three core attributes is everything. Now, me personally, when the game was in development, I argued that charisma should actually be one of them, but it just never happened. Now, with that being said, when it comes to skills, what skills? There absolutely is no skills in this game whatsoever. So if you've never flown a plane or a helicopter, that's fine. If you want to do some crazy stunt in a car, that's fine too. It's basically comes down to can you roll below one of your three attributes? And realistically, it kind of feels like an action movie. And well, you are Marion Cobretti. You can pretty much do whatever you damn well please, and there's nothing stopping you from doing so. Did I mention this is a rules light game? Either ways, it feels more like an action movie than a TTRPG at times, which that's completely fine with me because Marion fucking Cobretti. Now, when it comes to required dice for playing this game, you're going to need a full set of D&D dice. At least the D10, I seen D12, D20 is a pretty common die. You're basically your attributes when you do attribute skill checks. It's going to be a D20. D8 I've seen for damage, D4 and D6. So pretty much you're going to need all those. The only one I'm not sure of really is the D00. I haven't seen anything or recall seeing anything for that die, but yeah, that means you need a full set of D&D die. Now, when it comes to hit points is pretty low. You actually only get D6 hit points per level. There is no character classes, so yeah, it's D6 or nothing, pretty much. And D6 is what prevents you from taking strength damage. Once you take strength damage, that's some serious critical damage, and basically you're helpless. And if you reach 0 strength, you're dead. Honestly, so far, so good. Everything is pretty simple. There's nothing really I can complain about. There's things I wish were a little bit fleshed out more. I kind of wished maybe there was a skill system. I kind of wished that there was charisma, but essentially he rolled charisma into willpower. Okay, that's fine. Um, Now, when it comes to the art, I think the art's great. All the art is black and white, like you see here, but it's all really well done and depicts pretty much what the guy was going for. Like when you read the different sections, there's a car somewhere in the book, and basically that's the starting section for the vehicles. And, it's all really well done. And with that being said, all the black and white art in this book or in this video is actually art from the book. Now, realistically, when it comes to the rules themselves, I feel the rules are a little bit light, but it is a rules light game. And with that being said, because it's a rules light game, it does leave room for you to be a little bit creative. I would say not a huge deal to an experienced game master, but to a non experienced game master, this might cause some problems. Now, when it comes to your players, it's going to be pretty easy to teach them how to play this game because, well, there's really not a lot there when it comes to rules, and there's not a lot there that's going to bog your game down. Now we got weapons. Weapons. I feel the weapons could have been done a little bit better myself. I feel there could have been a little bit more rules and things like that when it comes to the weapons. Also, I feel I missed the opportunity when it comes to things such as tasers, tear gas, and flashbangs. That all would have been stuff that would have been used by SWAT teams at the time, and it's just not there, which I feel is kind of unfortunate. I feel that's stuff that should have been in the game, especially because if you're going to be going for the role of a cocaine baron, more than likely at one point or another, you're going to have a run-in with a SWAT team. And those SWAT teams, yeah, they're going to have flashbangs, they're going to have CS gas, and they're going to have tasers. Now, in the next section, you get cars. We pretty much get some good simplified baseline stats for cars within the game. Once again, I feel this probably could have been made a little bit more chunky than it was. It seems pretty scant, but there's a decent amount of cars. Basically stuff you can work with. And there actually is chase mechanics in the game, which realistically isn't bad. They seem fine, pretty simplified, but they'll work for the context of the game. And the one that was really interesting to me is actually in the vehicles section is an M1 Abrams, but there's kind of a problem. So the M1 Abrams is in the game, but you would think there'd be a tank rules for a tank cannon. Well, you'd be wrong. Not sure why that got missed. Either ways, there's also body armor in the game. The body armor it provides a damage reduction for your characters when they're attacked. Seems perfectly fine, very simplified. Honestly, it works in my opinion. There is also perks in the game. However, with the perks, while they give you pretty good bonuses, there's also prerequisite requirements for getting these perks. Now, once you've earned these perks, you've earned the perk. It's not based on leveling up or anything. Basically, the dungeon master looks and goes, yeah, you fulfilled the requirement. Here's this perk. There's also rules for running nightclubs. I think that's a great addition to the game, to be honest. And mostly because you can use your nightclub for laundering your cocaine money, besides the fact that you can also use the nightclub for selling your product. With that being said, nightclubs, very popular thing within Miami, especially at the time frame. So it just fits perfectly into the game, in my opinion. I feel it's a great addition. There is also rules for henchmen. Once again, great addition. It's nothing super high speed, low drag. It's very simplified and it works. And there's stats within the books for henchmen, and henchmen will actually help you fight. So that's also great. Besides the fact if something happens and one of the player characters gets killed, well, they can easily roll up a new character and become essentially take over as one of the henchmen, if you will. So I think that's actually really great. Works really well for the game. And henchman counts as really anything as, Mr. Cocaine Baron's bodyguards to, well, Miami beat cops. Now, one thing I thought was really interesting was there's actually special weapons in the game that has enhanced rules. Maybe they do enhanced damage or whatever. There's not a lot of them, but I think it's kind of funny, especially because one of them is a golden Uzi. I just kind of snickered at it. Went, you know what? That's great. Cocaine Baron with golden Uzi, great stuff. Now, one beef, admittedly, I do have is the milestone leveling. Me personally, I was never a fan of milestone leveling. I think it works fine for this game because it is a rules light game. But me personally, I've just never been a fan of milestone leveling. I even did a video where I talk about different types of level up systems. And this is the one I kind of really grinded on the hardest. But we'll let it go because, like I said, it works great. When it comes to level ups is, well, everything you read here. It's basically a paragraph and you're good to go. And it's done really quickly. So once the game master decides that the players level up, they gain a level, and then this is what they get as part of their level up. Now, he actually has a bit of a pre-made setting when it comes to Miami 86. I feel it's actually really well done, especially because it's not just around Miami. It also explores some other areas that players may visit, such as different islands off the coast, things of that nature. As well, he's got NPCs packed in there with very good background information, the way the characters themselves are, pretty much what's their influence, etc. So when it comes to the NPCs, he did a great job. Lots of good information there that you can use and use these NPCs within your Miami 86 campaign. Also, for us who plays tabletop role-playing games solo, that's not me, but there is solo rules section in there for playing Miami 86, and it's a pretty light section, so I think a lot of people would really enjoy that. That kind of seems to be a thing that's growing is, running solo RPG campaigns. Like I said, that's not my taste, but I still give the guy bonus points for putting it in there. The book itself also has bookmarks, but I feel they could have been better. Definitely should have put some more time in the bookmarks, but they're fine enough. You can get yourself around the book. And once you really get acquired to the book itself, you're really honestly not going to use it all that much because basically the game itself is pretty easy to memorize because it's not a very rules heavy game. So more or less, the book is just there to kind of reference things, I guess. There's also an intro adventure that you can play called Erase the Debt. I'm not sure what happened to Grand Theft Auto, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But hey, nice. The book also includes a separate introduction adventure that you can play with your friends. So, conclusion Miami 86. Would I recommend it? Would I recommend against it? You know what? For a rules light game, it is a little scant in places. I will say that much. As a criticism, I feel he could have gone a little heavy in certain areas. There's also some things I kind of look at and raise an eyebrow and go, it does that much damage, really? Or it does that little damage, really? We don't, like I said, one thing is we don't have rules for the tank gun on the M1 Abrams. When it comes to stuff like that, because of how the rules are, with how light it is, if you're not beyond creating some house rules and filling in some blanks yourself, I feel this game is perfectly fine. It will work. It will do the job. There's a lot of things that the creator of the game did really well on, so I have to give them bonus points for that. But there's also some things that could have been done better, in my opinion. With that being said, right now, as it stands, as I'm sitting here doing this recording, it's available on itch.io. I think it's $10 if I remember correctly on itch.io. That's 10 US. And I think you can actually purchase some printed copies still, and I think those are $20 a piece. Personally, I really mean me. I paid to get a printed copy because I like printed copies of books. With that being said, $10 for a PDF copy of a role playing game, I think is perfectly fine. It does, for the most part, it is a full TTRPG, but like I said, you might have to fill in some blanks, which is pretty easy to do because it's a rules light game. Now, the next thing is when it comes to drive-through RPG, well, I even messaged them and questioned them, is this game going to come to drive-through RPG? And right now, as it stands, it doesn't sound like it's going to anytime in the near future, but it does sound like that it's possibly going to come to drive-through RPG in the future. That's for him to decide, not for me. But for me, if I was putting out a new TTRPG, yeah, I would put it on drive-through RPG because that is like the TTRPG superstore. That's the first place a lot of people, I feel, to my knowledge, turns to when it comes to their tabletop role-playing games. Now, finally, as I'm doing this review, as a part of me backing the project, I did actually opt in for a printed copy of Grand Theft Auto. I still have not seen that pamphlet yet. I haven't gotten it. Even as I'm sitting here doing the review, I myself has not received my printed copy yet. So, I mean, this game literally just came out. But, for anyone who's waiting for the printed copy as I'm doing this recording, it's looking like it's going to be probably towards the end of February is when everyone should have their printed copies, or at least all of us backers. So right now, as it stands, no printed copies of anything yet, but hopefully hashtag soon. Anyway, folks, I think I'm going to wrap up today's video up at that. That is my review of Miami 86. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, and thank you very much for tuning in. Have yourself a wonderful day.
So say good night to the bad guy. Go on.